Is AI a super convenient shortcut that can help you get tasks done much faster and crank out excellent pieces of writing in a fraction of the time? Or does it actively work against the goal to make you a good writer? In fact, does it actually make you dumber and a worse student? In other words, is using AI for college history papers just BS? Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Dr. Doug Campbell, and for just a moment, let's enter a realm of fantasy. Now, not like an exciting fantasy like, Narnia or something like that, but we're talking more that, let's just say for the sake of argument, you're taking a college class. I don't know, why don't we say it's a college history class? Could be any class really, but I'm a history professor, so we'll go with my home turf. And let us further imagine that you have some sort of major piece of writing for that class that you've put off for a while, and now you're hard up against a deadline with a lot of work to do.
Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
Now, I know you shouldn't have done that. You know you shouldn't have done that. But things happen. Who hasn't been there really? Now, it's in just this sort of situation where shortcuts start to seem very tempting. Doing things the correct way, after all, takes a great deal of time and effort, and you've got to get something turned in quickly. Now, back in the misty days of yore, when I was in college.
I was there, Gandalf. I was there 3,000 years ago.
These sorts of shortcuts took substantial effort. Like you had to go and find like another research paper or another piece of writing and sort of copy that out and turn it in as if it were your own. Like the internet was starting to be a thing, and once that really got going, it became increasingly easy just to snag a chunk of text online, you copy that, paste it into your own text. So that shortcut was even easier. But now, finally, we have gotten to the point where artificial intelligence has made it easy enough that you can just use one of the many available tools, type in a description of the prompt, and have a machine generate for you a piece of completely original text, which you can then turn in, which sounds like super easy.
At some point in the early 21st century, all of mankind was united in celebration. We marveled at our own magnificence as we gave birth to AI.
AI? You mean artificial intelligence?
But are things so cut and dried? And, I'll certainly admit to the fact that I'm edging into middle age here, and perhaps I'm just getting old.
Look how old you've become.
And I can't appreciate how society is changing around me in potentially useful ways. Certainly, I would not be the first grumpy old bastard to just rail about how, kids these days and society's going to hell and all of that crap.
You wouldn't understand, Dad. You're not with it. I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what I'm with isn't it, and what's it seems weird and scary to me. It'll happen to you.
Granted, that's a possibility. On the other hand, though, sometimes we crotchety old bastards might be able to appreciate a thing or two about the tenor of the changes in the times. At least if you bear with me, I will try to make my best case for why using these sorts of AI tools in college assignments doesn't actually help you as much as you might think, and perhaps even harms you.
If once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny. Consume you it will.
Is the dark side stronger?
No. Quicker, easier, more seductive.
And first I'd ask you, why are you in college in the first place? What is your goal? I would imagine for most people watching this video, you view your college education as a means to an end. You want to acquire a credential which will allow you to get a job that is both more lucrative than what you can get without a degree, as well as being something that, if not exactly pleasant, doesn't make you want to gouge your eyes out with a spoon or something dramatic like that. Certainly, all college professors want to imagine that their students are there for the raw pleasure of learning and for the ways in which acquiring an education will improve their lives and make them better human beings. And I do 100% believe all of that stuff, but I'm also not so naive as to not understand some of the realities of 21st century American capitalism.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
That said, a college diploma is supposed to indicate that, among other things, you have mastered a certain skill set.
But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career.
Among the skills you're supposed to have is the ability to express yourself in clear, grammatically correct written English, to be able to use evidence to construct a coherent argument, that sort of thing. That's what employers are expecting you to be able to do.
That's how Dad did it. That's how America does it. And it's worked out pretty well so far.
And if you let a machine do all of that work in college for you, you may find yourself on the job market or indeed hired without actually having those skills. And, you can only really fake it for so long before somebody realizes that, dude, you're a fraud. You can't do what we thought you were able to do. Now, maybe you might say, well, if I used AI throughout my college career and it worked fine, why can't I use AI when I'm actually employed after college? Again, I suppose a fair objection, but also you want to think about the argument that you're making there. This stuff cuts both ways. Don't kid yourself. If your employer realizes that they can use machines and AI tools to perform the same tasks that they counted on you to do, then you'll be gone. You'll be out of there in less time than it takes them to say, clean out your desk and get the hell out.
So you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
If you want to get that job and you want to keep that job, you need to make it as clear as possible to your employers in as many ways as you possibly can that you bring something to the table, that you have skills and talents that no machine can replace. That's the only way you're going to stay on the payroll. And honestly, at this point, it shouldn't be too hard for you to be able to demonstrate that you can do what you do better than any machine can. Obviously, it's early days and the technology is progressing very quickly, so perhaps someday soon we will get to the point where machine-generated writing is indistinguishable from even very good human writing.
It might happen. Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
I tend to doubt it, though. But for now, AI is not really much of a shortcut to producing a good piece of writing or to doing well on any assignment in college that requires you to write. Rather, it produces incoherent crap that is not going to be anything that's going to earn a particularly good grade in any course. And in my experience as somebody who grades a lot of student writing. I've been doing this for decades. I've read thousands and thousands of student papers. It's pretty easy to tell when somebody is using AI because the prose just sounds totally psychotic. And now there is AI detection software, which is sort of pleasing on kind of an ironic level, like using a machine to catch another machine.
Let them fight.
There's poetry to that somehow. But it's pretty easy to catch students using that stuff the old-fashioned way too. So, best case scenario, the AI tool is going to generate something that doesn't sound like the sort of thing a human wrote. The writing is nominally correct in a grammatical sense, but at the same time, there's all sorts of unnecessarily ornate verbiage and convoluted sentences that end up saying not much of anything. I mean, it sounds like maybe an alien or some sort of sociopath pretending to be a normal human.
You like Huey Lewis on the news?
They're okay.
Their early work was a little too new wave for my taste. But when Sports came out in '83, I think they really came into their own, commercially and artistically. The whole album has a clear, crisp sound and a new sheen of consummate professionalism that really gives the songs a big boost. He's been compared to Elvis Costello, but I think Huey has a far more bitter, cynical sense of humor. In '87, Huey released this, 4, their most accomplished album. I think their undisputed masterpiece is Hip to Be Square. A song so catchy, most people probably don't listen to the lyrics, but they should, because it's not just about the pleasures of conformity and the importance of trends, it's also a personal statement about the band itself. Hey, Paul!
And, that's the best case scenario. Like, worst case, AI does to writing what it does to, like, in the visual arts, doing like little details or like human hands or something like that. At first glance, everything is okay. But when you actually zoom in and look at the details that are on the page, it's some sort of hideous monstrosity that, like, no universe in which there's a living God could allow to exist, basically.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Anybody reading this would be forced to conclude that A, you've been using AI and you just came up with something weird, or B, that you've got some sort of deep-seated mental disorder that sooner or later will result in you sewing skin suits out of the flesh of your victims. Either way, like, it's not a great look. By the way, this perhaps also applies as well to potentially more benign AI tools like, Grammarly or stuff like that, that you can use to sort of tweak your writing and make it a little bit more correct. That pings AI detectors too. And I suppose you could make an argument like that's a genuinely useful tool, but there's so much abuse with AI stuff these days in higher ed that, like, the good stuff gets thrown out with the bad, honestly, and it's the reason why we can't have nice things. And probably it is best just to learn to do all of that stuff on your own before employing the crutch, basically. And honestly, at this point, perhaps you should be asking yourself, like, what is the upside of using AI? Like, if it only gets you crappy grades while simultaneously robbing you of the chance to practice necessary skills to succeed on an increasingly dystopian job market, what good is it? Even the admins at the college that I work at seem to be hell-bent on pushing AI as the wave of the future and even use it in their own communications to faculty and staff. But those people are goofy. You don't want to listen to them. If nothing else, all of the apocalyptic sci-fi movies and TV shows I grew up on in like the 80s and 90s made the point over and over and over again that we'll start off developing AI and it'll look really handy, and then sooner or later the machines will turn on us and try to murder us all. Granted, that's fiction, but are we sure? Are we really sure that these machines aren't going to kill us? And don't you want to be on the right side of that war? You don't want to be helping the machines exterminate the species, do you?
You don't approve? Well, too bad. We're in this for the species, boys and girls.
Maybe the stakes aren't that high, but maybe they are. I don't know. You could be dooming humanity by using AI on a college history paper. There we go. I said it.
Cyborgs don't feel pain. I do. Don't do that again.
Just let me go.
Listen and understand. That Terminator is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop. Ever. Until you are dead.
Can you stop it?
I don't know.
I usually do some recommended readings at the end of these videos. Or we could mention the University of Chicago's Manual of Style for writers of research papers, theses, and dissertations. Mark Bloch's The Historian's Craft, Wayne Booth's The Craft of Research. There's a bunch of classics like this. Honestly, the best thing that you can do for yourself in this regard is to read a lot of good history writing and to practice it yourself. Ultimately, the more you write, the better you're going to get at it. So, is using AI tools as a shortcut to produce papers for college history classes BS? Yes. Obviously, it will make you dumber, it will make you a worse student, it will make you less competitive on the job market, and you might actually just be helping the machines to wipe out our entire species. So there you have it. As always, do your own research, your own writing, your own thinking. See you later.